Two women have been plotting behind your back for a long time. What happens tonight will reveal their real intentions. Open now. My beloved child, tonight feels like a doorway between what you thought you knew and what you are finally about to understand, and as you listen, I want you to feel the air around you grow still, as if the world itself is leaning in to witness the truth that has been quietly forming in the shadows for a very long time. For months, maybe even years, there have been two women moving through your life with smiles that looked warm on the surface, yet carried stories beneath them that were never spoken aloud. They watched you from a distance the way people watch a storm they believe they can control, exchanging gentle glances and soft conversations that always seemed harmless, but tonight, every unspoken word begins to echo with a deeper meaning. You may remember moments when their presence felt strangely aligned, when one would arrive just as the other faded away, when laughter felt rehearsed, and concern arrived only when questions could not be asked. And as the evening unfolds, the memory of those moments begins to return like pieces of a puzzle rearranging themselves into a picture you were never meant to see until now, a picture that reveals intentions wrapped in patience, timing, and quiet observation. There is a strange calmness in the night, a stillness that holds weight, as if the universe has paused to let a curtain lift, and in this silence, you begin to sense how long this story has been in motion. These two women did not appear suddenly, they grew into the background of your days, blending into conversations, memories, and decisions, always present yet never fully visible. They listened when you spoke about your hopes, they nodded when you shared your fears, and they stored every detail the way someone might store pieces of a secret map. There were times when they appeared supportive, times when they seemed almost protective, but somewhere beneath those gestures lived a quiet alignment, a shared understanding that tonight finally steps out of hiding. And as you stand at the edge of this realization, you can almost feel every moment of doubt you once ignored returning to you, not to frighten you, but to prepare you for the clarity that has been waiting for this very hour. The night does not rush, instead, it unfolds gently, like a letter finally being opened after being sealed for too long, and each memory you revisit feels heavier than before. You recall the way one of them would speak softly whenever the other was nearby, how their presence seemed to move in patterns, how conversations paused when you entered the room, how their story sometimes overlapped in subtle ways that never made sense until now. You think about the gatherings where they stood just a little apart from everyone else, sharing looks that seemed ordinary at the time but now glow with hidden meaning. You realize how small coincidences were never coincidences, how decisions you thought were your own may have been guided by gentle persuasion, by well-timed advice, by concern that arrived exactly when doubt began to surface. And tonight, all of those moments align in your mind like constellations forming a shape that was always there, just waiting for you to finally look up and notice it. But even in this unveiling, there is no chaos, no harshness, no fear, only a deep, powerful awareness rising quietly inside you, reminding you that truth does not always arrive with noise, sometimes it enters softly, like a whisper that becomes impossible to ignore. Tonight is not about blame, and it is not about confrontation, it is about revelation, about understanding what was hidden behind gestures that once felt kind, about recognizing the difference between words spoken with sincerity and words shaped by intention. As you listen, your heart becomes sharper, wiser, stronger, prepared to see beyond appearances and step into a place where intuition finally speaks clearly. The story of these two women has been unfolding silently around you, and tonight simply brings light to what was already there, their actions, their choices, their quiet alignment, all gently revealing the truth that was always waiting at the edge of your awareness. And as this first chapter of the night reaches its breath-holding pause, you stand in a moment that feels both fragile and powerful, a moment where the past begins to rearrange itself and the future waits just outside the doorway, ready to show you what their true intentions really mean for your path ahead. The air feels deeper, the silence more meaningful, and your spirit more awake than ever before, because you are no longer standing in uncertainty, you are standing at the threshold of realization. What happens next will not just reveal who they truly are, it will reveal who you are becoming, how your strength rises when the truth finally steps into the light, and how every hidden plan, every quiet exchange, every long-held intention begins to unfold before your eyes as tonight continues its slow, unstoppable, and transformative reveal. My beloved child, as the night deepens, a quiet tension settles in the air, as if every unseen thread of the past is slowly drawing itself toward a single point, and you can almost feel time itself leaning forward to watch what unfolds next. The two women move through this moment with a calmness that feels deliberate, as though each step they take has been rehearsed in silence, far away from your awareness. Their eyes carry stories they have never spoken, their voices soften when they exchange glances, and their presence feels heavier than before, no longer blending into the background but emerging from it with undeniable clarity. You begin to sense that tonight is not the beginning of anything, it is the moment when everything that has already been set in motion finally comes to the surface, when every whispered plan, every hidden agreement, every carefully measured gesture reveals the deeper purpose behind their long, patient silence. And as you stand inside this unfolding truth, your heart beats slower, steadier, clearer, because you know that whatever is being revealed now has been building for a very long time. There is something profoundly haunting about realization. It does not arrive like a storm, it arrives like a memory that suddenly makes sense, and tonight, every unanswered question begins to align inside your mind. You think back to the conversations that ended too quickly, the smiles that faded too soon, the moments when one of them spoke for the both of them as if they shared a single unspoken agreement. You remember the times when they appeared exactly when doubt entered your life, when they offered comfort not as kindness, but as timing, guiding your choices with a softness that now feels intentional. And as you look at them tonight, you are no longer just seeing who they are, you are seeing the history woven into their actions, the choices that shaped the path you walked, the subtle influence that gently redirected your steps whenever you began to question too deeply. The night does not accuse them, but it does not protect them either, it simply reveals, and in that revelation, you begin to see how their loyalty was never to your truth, but to something they shared between themselves. Yet even now, there is no chaos in your heart, only strength awakening from a silence it once mistook for safety. Your spirit stands taller than before, grounded not in confrontation, but in awareness, because tonight is not about fear, it is about illumination. You realize that their intentions were never loud because loud things are easy to notice. Instead, they chose patience, subtlety, moments that seemed harmless until time gathered them into meaning. And as the truth unfolds, you understand that this moment was never meant to break you, it was meant to awaken you, to sharpen your intuition, to guide you toward a deeper understanding of the people who stand closest to your life. The night wraps around you like a cloak of clarity, reminding you that sometimes the greatest revelations do not shake the world, they quietly rearrange it inside your heart, shifting the way you see, trust, and move forward from this point onward. The two women stand now at the center of this silent revelation, not as villains or enemies, but as mirrors reflecting the unseen layers of intention that have always existed beneath their gestures. Their words tonight carry a different weight, their presence no longer hidden behind familiarity, and every moment you share in this unfolding space feels like a step deeper into a reality you were not meant to discover until now. You watch them speak, watch their expressions shift, watch the fragile balance between what they meant for you to believe and what they can no longer conceal, and in that fragile space, you finally recognize the truth that has been quietly waiting behind every moment you once ignored. This is not the end of the story, it is the point where understanding takes its first full breath, where your perception expands beyond appearances, where your heart learns to listen not to words, but to intention. And as this part of the night comes to its slow, breath-holding pause, you stand stronger than before, surrounded by a silence that feels alive with meaning. The world around you has not changed, but your awareness has, and that awareness becomes your greatest guide from this moment forward. What comes next will not simply reveal what they have been planning, it will reveal why they stayed, why they watched, why tonight was the moment everything finally stepped into the light. The path ahead is no longer hidden in shadows, it waits quietly before you, and as the night moves forward, you know that every truth yet to unfold will shape not only how you see them, but how you finally step into the power of seeing everything as it truly is. My beloved child, as the night stretches further into silence, the atmosphere grows heavier with meaning, as though every second is carrying you deeper into a truth that has waited too long to be seen, and you can feel your spirit becoming more awake with each breath you take. The two women who once moved quietly in the background now stand closer to the center of your awareness, not because they have changed, but because you are finally seeing them without the veil of assumption. Their gestures feel slower, their words hold a deeper echo, and every small movement seems to reveal another layer of the story they have been carefully building over time. You sense that everything leading to this moment has been guided by timing, by patience, by a silent agreement between them that tonight can no longer hide. And as you stand within this unfolding realization, you understand that the truth is not arriving to shock you, it is arriving to awaken the strength that has always lived inside you, waiting for the moment your heart was ready to see clearly. There is a powerful stillness inside your mind as memories begin to resurface, not as random fragments, but as a path of signs you once walked past without noticing. You recall how one of them always spoke in half-sentences, leaving thoughts unfinished whenever the other entered the room, how decisions that affected your life seemed to form only after quiet conversations between them that never included you. You remember the way they carried concern like a blanket, wrapping it around situations that did not need it, gently guiding your choices while making it seem as though you were deciding for yourself. And now, as you reflect on these moments, you realize that what once appeared like care may have been something far more calculated, not harsh, not cruel, but intentional in a way that served their alignment more than your truth. The night does not accuse, but it reveals patterns, and in those patterns, you finally see how long their connection has been shaping the direction of your steps. Yet in this realization, there is no bitterness rising within you, only wisdom unfolding, steady and calm, like dawn emerging from the horizon. You begin to understand that not every hidden plan is born from harm. Sometimes it is born from fear, from insecurity, from the quiet desire to shape outcomes rather than trust what life would naturally reveal. These women, with their shared glances and measured words, may not see themselves as deceivers, they may believe they were protecting something, preserving something, guiding something they did not trust fate to handle on its own. And as you recognize this possibility, your heart does not harden. Instead, it grows more aware, more discerning, more grounded in the truth that intention and impact are not always the same. Tonight becomes a mirror not only for them, but for you as well, inviting you to question where trust belongs, where boundaries must rise, and where your voice must finally stand at the center of your own story. Their presence now feels different, not distant, not hidden, but exposed in a way that makes silence louder than words. You notice how one of them avoids your eyes while the other watches you carefully, as if searching your expression for answers you have not yet spoken aloud. Their unity, once subtle, now appears undeniable, and in that unity lies the key to everything that has been unfolding behind you. They share more than moments, they share decisions, narratives, unfinished conversations that now breathe through the tension of the night, revealing what their smiles never could. And as you watch them, you no longer see mystery, you see clarity forming, slowly, powerfully, like a truth preparing to step forward and reshape everything you once believed about loyalty, influence, and trust. And as this part of the night settles into its quiet pause, your heart no longer trembles, it stands firm, awake, and deeply aware of the journey that lies ahead. What you have begun to uncover is not just about them, it is about your awakening, your transformation, your shift from quiet acceptance into conscious understanding. The path that continues from this moment will not simply expose their intentions, it will reveal why destiny chose tonight as the moment of unveiling, why your spirit was meant to grow through awareness rather than confrontation, and why the story that has been forming in silence is now ready to step fully into the light. The night continues, and with every breath you take, you move closer to the truth that will forever change the way you see their bond, and the role it was destined to play in your life. My beloved child, the night grows deeper, and with every passing second, a quiet revelation circles closer, as though the truth itself is taking gentle steps toward you, determined to finally be seen. The atmosphere around you feels different now, not heavy with confusion, but rich with awareness, like a dimly lit hallway where every door begins to unlock one by one. The two women who once lived in the background of your story now stand in a space where there is no disguise, no blurred meaning, no softened gesture to hide behind. Their silence is no longer silent, it speaks, it echoes, it trembles beneath the weight of everything they have carried within themselves for so long. And as you watch them through the stillness of this moment, you realize that tonight is not only revealing their intentions, it is unraveling the thread that connects every moment of your past to the clarity awakening before you now. There is a shift in the air, subtle yet powerful, and you feel it not in your body but in your soul, that deep, unmistakable sense that something long concealed is finally aligning into full understanding. You begin to see how every choice, every hesitation, every carefully shaped word from them was not random, but a step in a larger pattern they believed they could hold together forever. Their voices tonight do not sound like guidance anymore, they sound like echoes of decisions made in rooms you were never invited into, echoes of conversations stitched together with caution and intention. You recall moments when they seemed to appear exactly when truth was nearing your door, how reassurance arrived only when clarity threatened to break through, and how every expression of concern now feels like a softer boundary to keep you within a story they quietly shaped. And as these realizations unfold, you finally understand that tonight is not exposing a sudden truth, it is revealing what has always been there, patiently waiting for you to recognize it. Yet even as this awareness settles into your heart, there is no storm rising within you. Instead, there is calm strength, mature and unwavering, like a flame that grows brighter without burning anything around it. You do not see enemies standing before you, you see human beings shaped by their own fears, by their own uncertainties, by their desire to control outcomes instead of trusting what life would naturally reveal. Their alignment was not built from malice, but from doubt, from unspoken insecurity, from the belief that they needed to move quietly in the shadows rather than trust truth to find its own path. And in understanding this, your heart does not close, it expands, it listens, it observes with compassion and wisdom, because you now know that revelation does not exist to create conflict, it exists to create clarity, to help you step out of stories that were never meant to define your destiny. The two women stand before you now, not as hidden figures, but as reflections of everything that was once unseen, their expressions uncertain, their silence louder than any confession they could speak aloud. You can sense that they, too, feel the weight of this moment, as though the truth they tried to shelter has finally grown larger than their ability to contain it. Their unity, once subtle, now feels fragile, not because it is breaking, but because it can no longer remain concealed. You sense that there is something more behind their actions, something deeper, something they believed they were protecting, and tonight becomes the space where intention and reality finally stand face to face. This is the turning point, the moment where truth breathes freely, where masks dissolve, where every hidden layer gently lifts to reveal the story they never expected you to see so clearly. And as this part of the night settles into its quiet, lingering pause, you stand in a place where strength and awareness meet, where your spirit no longer questions, but understands. The journey has shifted from confusion into awakening, from uncertainty into vision, and the path ahead begins to glow with meaning you can now finally grasp. What comes next will not only uncover the final piece of their intention, it will reveal the deeper reason destiny allowed their presence in your life at all, the role they unknowingly played in shaping your inner strength, and the moment where truth, at last, prepares to reveal its final and most powerful layer as the night moves forward into what awaits beyond this unfolding silence. My beloved child, the final stretch of the night arrives like a quiet drumbeat inside your heart, steady, unescapable, and honest, as though every moment that has led you here has been guiding you gently toward this single point of awakening. The world around you feels still, but it is not an empty stillness, it is full, alive, vibrating with truth that can no longer remain hidden beneath subtle gestures and carefully constructed silence. The two women now stand not in the shadows, not behind softened smiles, but in the open space of reality, where intentions can no longer hide behind familiarity. Their eyes carry the weight of everything they never spoke, everything they allowed to live unspoken between them, and tonight, that silence finally unfolds into meaning. You can sense that this is the moment destiny chose for clarity, not to frighten you, not to break you, but to lift you out of the illusion they carefully shaped around your path. There is a softness in their expressions now, a fragile tremor that reveals something deeper than secrecy, a truth born not from ambition, but from fear, hesitation, and unfinished emotions they never knew how to confront openly. You begin to see that what they guarded was not just a plan, it was a shared vulnerability, a fragile bond they believed could only survive in secrecy. Their decisions were not crafted in darkness to harm you, they were formed in uncertainty, shaped by insecurities they did not know how to voice. The conversations they hid, the choices they influenced, the subtle guidance they offered, All of it was stitched together from a place of control disguised as care, from a belief that they could hold destiny in their hands instead of trusting life to unfold naturally. And now, as their truth stands exposed beneath the quiet light of the night, you understand that the story was never just about deception, it was about fear trying to protect itself. Yet your heart does not harden, it matures, rising into a strength that feels grounded, gentle, and undeniable. You realize that this revelation was never meant to create distance, it was meant to awaken your awareness, to return your voice to the center of your own life, to remind you that intuition is not doubt, it is wisdom waiting to be heard. Their intentions may have shaped paths you walked unknowingly, but tonight, the path returns to your hands, and you stand clearer than you have ever been. You no longer move through their versions of truth, you move through your own, guided not by suspicion, but by clarity, by courage, by the quiet power of knowing where trust belongs and where boundaries must stand gently yet firmly in place. This moment does not strip your world apart, it realigns it, reshaping your understanding into something stronger, sharper, and beautifully self-aware. The two women now seem smaller than the mystery they once carried, not because they are weak, but because they are finally human in your eyes, imperfect, uncertain, shaped by their own unfinished fears. Their unity no longer feels like a hidden alliance, it feels like a confession written without words, a silent acknowledgement that what they guarded could not live forever in the shadows. And in that realization, something inside you shifts, not into anger, not into resentment, but into acceptance. You see them not as figures who stood against you, but as characters who unknowingly guided you toward your own awakening, toward the moment where your spirit stepped beyond their influence and into its true strength. The night becomes less about what they hid, and more about what you have now discovered within yourself. And as the final breath of this revelation settles gently into the air, you stand at the edge of a new beginning, calm, aware, and deeply empowered. The truth has not shattered you, it has shaped you, strengthened you, opened your eyes to the subtle layers of intention that move quietly through life. What happens tonight does not end your story, it transforms it, gifting you a vision sharper than before, a heart wiser than yesterday, and a spirit that now knows how to recognize the difference between guidance and control, between presence and influence, between companionship and quiet manipulation. The night closes not as a warning, but as a turning point, a moment where you step forward with clarity, no longer walking beneath unseen intentions, but rising fully into the light of your own awakened truth.